We are back. Welcome to part two of my coverage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Today we'll be covering groups E through H in the group stages to get us to our final 16 teams. I am Betya. If you haven't already, please do us a favor. Like the video. Please subscribe. Our channel is working hard every week to give you MMA, DFS, and betting advice. I work with the best people. I work with Uncle Wheezy. I work with the Monk Matician, and I work with Brady, a.k.a. DFS by the numbers. These guys work hard every week to try to give you all the information you can. And they also let me on the channel because I pay the rent. So that works out swimmingly for me. You'll see that I'm in a soccer field, and this is totally not a background. I moved to do this and change jerseys because I have another one. So without further ado, let's get into Group E, Group H. If you haven't already, please watch the video that gets us to the first four groups that covered the U.S. game. If you're here to look for the U.S. game, watch the whole video, but then go to the other one and watch it. And if you've watched the other one already, go watch it again. It's a couple of pennies in our pocket. We appreciate it. So without further ado, let's move on to the last four groups of the group stage. We have Group E here. Spain and Germany. Spain slightly ahead in the world rankings, slightly ahead in the odds to win the World Cup. Japan at plus 25,000. Costa Rica tied joint worst at plus 80,000. To win the group, neck and neck, Spain a slight favorite. They're both massive favorites to qualify. So let's disqualify Japan and Costa Rica right now. I think Japan's actually a decent team. They're pretty disciplined. They play good defense. They're going to get blown out. Costa Rica has absolutely no chance here. This is a group between two people. In that sense, it's easy to handicap, which means the featured game here is obvious. It's Germany against Spain. You see how closely lined the game is. Germany plus 160. Slight favorite over Spain, which is surprising when you look at the group results, that they have Spain as a slight favorite to advance. I don't know if that's a mistake. I don't know. It's not a mistake, a typo. I don't know if it's a mistake line, but that line is pretty accurate. I think it could be even a dead pick 'em here, which is why when we get to the best bets, the only one I have in this group is the draw. I think it could easily end 2-2, 1-1. As far as who qualifies here, flip a coin. I picked Germany because of the plus odds team. This is the group that I have the worst read on because it's really hard to separate these two teams. And to be honest, in recent World Cup history, they've been snake bitten. Germany had a colossal failure the last time they played. And Spain's been conceding goals at a bigger rate than usual. So that troubles me a little bit, backing them with super confidence past the group stage. The one thing I will say is that in the Euros, which was last summer, Spain was very close to make to the finals. They lost to Italy in a penalty kick shootout, which as an Italian, I rejoiced in. Of course, they got their revenge because Italy didn't make the World Cup this year, but that's all right. We're still holding on to our trophy. So let's move on to the next group, Group F. And now we're going to have a lot of fun because now we got some groups that are going to be some controversial picks. Get Belgium up top, Croatia, Morocco, and Canada. Canada, the lowest odds to come out of this group at plus 275 to win the group plus 1,000. Belgium sitting at minus 190. They are the lowest odds to win a group out of all 8 groups. And I'll get to why in a second. Croatia, last World Cup's finalists, lost to France, plus 200. Morocco, plus 850. You look at the 2 advanced stages, Belgium, overwhelming chalk to get there. Croatia, minus 200. And then it gets a little closer. You've been seeing, like, when Saudi Arabia is in the group, Qatar's in the group, a lot of these bottom teams to advance are about plus 800, plus 1,000. It's not the case here. Morocco, plus 200. Canada, plus 275. You look at the FIFA World Rankings, Croatia is 12, although I think that's deceiving. Morocco at 22, which is sneaky decent, and Canada at 41, which I also think is deceiving. So when you come to the group games that matter here, I'm conceding that I believe Belgium will win. Now, I didn't highlight those games, but I do want to bring up a very interesting point. So Belgium has been called the golden generation. They're very talented. They have Aiden Hazard. They have Kevin De Bruyne, who's another guy. If you argue he's the best player in the world, I won't dispute it. You have Romelu Lukaku, who's like my dude. I love watching him play. It's great for Inter. He was good for United, but we didn't really have him long enough due to a dispute with the manager. But they're coming in a little banged up. Lukaku is not going to play, I don't think, He may not play the first 2 games. He may not play the entire group stage. Now, I don't know that they need him at this level. For them to do anything in this tournament, they absolutely need him. But De Bruyne's health is all that matters. De Bruyne is the engine on that team. There's nothing he can't do. Again, if I'm talking to people that aren't passionate fans of the sport that don't watch the EPL, I am clearly wearing this jersey. I'm clearly not a Manchester City fan at all. In fact, I despise them. However, watching them play sometimes is like watching art, the way they move the ball, the way they get everybody involved in the offense. And De Bruyne is the guy that makes that engine run. So they'll stay afloat without Lukaku here. Unfortunately, we don't get Marouane Fellaini, who is the most hilarious guy to watch play soccer. But Belgium should have no problem advancing here. Now it gets interesting, though. I've highlighted the games with the other 3 teams. So basically, this is my version of the round robin, taking the Belgium games out. Morocco's decent. They're a sneaky, decent team here. They play good defense. I don't want to really generalize this, but it's kind of the truth that teams in that region of the world kind of play games. They like playing 1-0 games. I mean, their rosters are built for that. The training is built for that. They like to play low scoring games. Where Morocco lacks in this tournament, the reason I can't really get behind them, they just don't have any star power in this tournament. They're kind of okay. It's like 11 guys that are decent. I mean, you have to be to make it to the stage through qualifications. But I don't know that they can overpower anybody in this. I think the best thing they can hope for is maybe a couple of draws. Let's get to Croatia next. So Croatia, again, as I mentioned, last World Cup's finalists. But they're getting old. This is an older team, and they haven't looked great in qualification. They haven't looked great in the Nations League. They didn't look great in the Euros. This is a team they're kind of beat up. They're older, and they haven't really replenished the cupboard. So I'm very hesitant to back them. I imagine this is Luka Modric's last World Cup. He is the Golden Ball winner from last year. The guy has been such a talent over his career. He's another guy. It's a joy to watch, and probably doesn't even get the credit he deserves for all the things he does on that Real Madrid squad. Let's get to Canada. Canada's a real interesting team here. Very interesting. They're a team on the rise. They play in the CONCACAF region against the U.S., Mexico, Peru, like Ecuador, Costa Rica, Panama, those kind of teams. So their level of competition isn't great. Compared globally, their level of competition to qualify isn't great. But they mowed through the qualifiers. It's not their fault that the other teams weren't they can only beat who's in front of them, and man, they did. They also have Alphonso Davies, who plays for Bayern Munich, who he might be the fastest soccer player in the world. I don't know. This guy is so pacey. He's so good. He's injury prone, but when healthy, and he's healthy now. When healthy, he's an incredible guy to watch. So this is tricky, but when I'm going to go a little contrarian here, and I'm going to play Canada as the lowest odds team to qualify, to come in second place, plus 275 odds to qualify. The reason I didn't do the straight forecast of Belgium, Canada here is, like I said, I do have some concerns with Belgium's roster. And if De Bruyne gets hurt, I don't trust Eden Hazard to really lead that team. He's kind of declined. Courtois, while good domestically, hasn't been great on the stage. He hasn't needed to be because Belgium can just score a lot. But I don't love a lot of this roster, and there's a lot of injury concerns. So could Croatia sneak in there? Could Belgium actually get eliminated at the stage? It's not implausible, and the odds back it up, them being less than 200 to advance. Because if they're fully healthy, and this was 4 years ago, they would have been minus 500 in this group. But they're not, and the odds makers have caught on. So by the fact that I like Canada to qualify, it means that I like Canada to beat Croatia. And at plus 360 odds, I don't get it. This is way wide, and this is just people banking on Croatia being the team they were 4 years ago, and they are not. Oh, they're the same roster pretty much, but they're older. And Canada, man, hungrier team, plus 360. I got to take the shot here. So I don't know that Canada goes any farther than this, but honestly, with a growing soccer program in their country, this is a huge win. It's a huge win making the World Cup for them. For them to do anything here and get a couple of points and maybe even make the round of 16 would be a massive success for their program. And as I have a lot of friends up north that I work with in the MMA space, I root for them as their, stepbrother or some shit. Moving on. Group G. All right, we have Brazil, the tournament favorite at plus 400 to win. Switzerland and Serbia, as you see, both plus 8,000 to win the World Cup. Their group win odds is $1 difference, plus 550 Switzerland, plus 650 for Serbia. To advance to the KO stage, 30-cent difference. Switzerland, a slight favorite. Cameroon, way at the bottom. Not a horrible team, but they're going to get outgunned here badly. You look at the world rankings, Brazil, really no surprise, number one. Switzerland at 15 has been a very cagey and very difficult out in tournaments. A very difficult out. They have a couple of good goal scorers. They have Shaqiri, who I'm not going to make this video a slam piece, but not my favorite guy for a lot of reasons. They're very good defensively. They have very good goalkeeping. They're a solid tournament team. Then you have Serbia, who people are sleeping on Serbia. They have a lot of firepower. This team can score. Dusan Vlahovic, they got Mitrovic. Dusan Tadic in the middle is another great playmaker. There's a problem right now, though. And that big problem is that Vlahovic and Mitrovic are banged up. Now, fully healthy, I think this team could even give Brazil a test. And I'd probably bet over whatever the goals were there. I wouldn't even care. Vlahovic is probably not going to play in the group stage. And Mitrovic has famously said he would play even if he has one leg. And man, I believe him. Now, he plays for Fulham in the Premier League. Fulham, not a super powerhouse. But when they've been in the Championship, which is the league under the Premier League, and the Premier League, this dude scores goals. He scores with his feet. He scores with his head. He's just such a physical presence. He's not like the artist that you get with a Messi or a Ronaldo or a Robert Lewandowski or Mbappe. This is a bruiser. He's more like Romelu Lukaku, and he's fun to watch. I don't know how much he's going to play. And right now, they're kind of giving us 50-50 shot that he even plays. Now, I don't know that he's going to play the first game. I don't. Now, if he doesn't play the first game against Brazil, I think that's okay. I think that's the game maybe to sit him out. Brazil's probably going to win that game anyway. You take your loss. You set up defensively. You try to keep the score as close as you can to not get blown out in case goal difference plays. But I think you're cool not playing that game. If you don't play him against Cameroon, it gets more interesting because Cameroon could beat Switzerland. I don't think they do, but a draw there is not inconceivable. And if Cameroon does get a point from the first game, holding on for a point in the second game is interesting. They may have to go for it because they're not going to beat Brazil. But if Cameroon wins against Switzerland and gets 3 points there is a very, very good possibility they will set up to get a draw against Serbia. And if that's what they do, they absolutely need Mitrovic. Absolutely 100% need him to have the firepower to get past the team park and the bus. So that leads me to the third game of the group that I've highlighted, which is Serbia and Switzerland. Now, I mentioned how Switzerland is a super tough out in these tournaments. But man, there's just something about Serbia I like. Their defense is just as good as Switzerland, rankings-wise, and they just have more weapons on offense. I realize this is a big gamble because we just don't know how healthy Mitrovic is going to be. But even if he can be a substitute for 20, 30 minutes a game, it's such a world of difference to get him on the pitch. So I'm going to take the risk here, and I'm going to tell anybody watching this video, if you're going to bet this, tread real lightly. Because again, they're kind of being deceptive with the true nature of the injuries these guys are having. Vlahovic hasn't played in a while, so I don't think they're being deceptive there. But Mitrovic is, they're saying, very on the fence. So I'm going to take the stab with Serbia. I'm going to take the straight forecast that both of them advance in that order at plus 190. Brazil is not losing this group. Brazil's team total over 9.5 goals. Now, I have to bring this up for two reasons. When we get to the forecasting for the final 16, Brazil is the sexy favorite, and I understand that. And I think Brazil is going to go very, very far in this tournament. I will not say how far I think they're going to go yet. But honestly, Brazil not against Switzerland. I could see Switzerland kind of holding them to 2 goals, and maybe the same thing with Serbia. But Brazil could probably blow 4 or 5 past Cameroon. And honestly, no matter who Brazil plays in the round of 16, which we're going to get to in the next group, who I think it is, I think Brazil can there's no team I think that can really shut them down. For Brazil to lose, you're going to have to beat them 3-2. They're going to have to get a red card. You're going to need some weird shit to happen. So I think Brazil I mean, they're the favorites for a reason, and their roster. I mean, I haven't even talked about them here, but they're another team like France. Their backup squad could just go out there and probably annihilate fools and get to the Final Four. So if Brazil even wants to rotate in one of these games, it doesn't matter. They're just going to go out. Their backups going to go out there and score a ton of goals. Serbia team total over 3.5. Now, this ties to everything else, but I saw the minus 110. And I was like, man, that is crazy low here. Serbia is built to score goals. They have goal scorers. They have flow. They can vary their game. Like, they can play ugly 0-0, 1-0 games if they have to. But you watch them, play on the Nations League. You watch them play in the Euros. They want to open it up. They can. I like this team a lot. So 3.5 is super, super low. Even if you are scared off by them and don't want to bet them as a future here to advance, I think 3.5 is attainable in maybe 2 games for them. I really do. I think they could score. If Mitrovic plays against Brazil, I think they can get 2 goals that game. They might lose 6-2, but they can get a couple of goals. And then sticking with the theme here, Serbia minus 120 to beat Cameroon. I think those odds are low. I think Serbia should be a bigger favorite. But I think baked into that is the fact that we have so many injury concerns right now. So this is really just a straight ass play on Serbia doing well here. If you're not comfortable, I get it. And Switzerland's not a horrible pick, but for me, it's Serbia. So let's move on to the final group. And we have Portugal up top, another prohibitive favorite to win the World Cup. Of course, they have Mr. Ronaldo. They have Diego Fernandez of Manchester, 2 guys that play on Manchester United, although I can guarantee you one of them ain't going to be on United very long. Diego Jota is out. That's notable for Portugal. He's the workhorse of that team, but they're pretty deep squad without him. But he is another guy, like, their offense just takes on a whole different dimension with him in there. Guy's good at assists. He's a good goal scorer, everything. Uruguay plus 8,000 win the World Cup. Ghana joint tied with them there. South Korea plus 25,000. I find it odd that Uruguay and Ghana are tied at their odds when the group win and the KO stage odds are way off. So I don't know if, or maybe that's a typo and Ghana's 80,000. That's very possible. I don't think Ghana should be 80-1 here, and we'll talk about Ghana too, because there's some interesting stuff that's been going on with them. I'm going to talk about all these teams briefly. Portugal to win the group. Actually, they are the slightest odds. I'd said Belgium. I was wrong at minus 145. Uruguay plus 185. And then Ghana and South Korea way behind. To advance, Portugal, very chalky. Uruguay minus 220 is a steal. I love this play. Ghana plus 250. South Korea plus 260. So let's talk about Ghana and South Korea real quick. So Ghana actually is a decent team, really fun to watch. A lot of their players in the Premier League, they have offense. The big problem with Ghana in this tournament is neither one of their top 2 goaltenders are playing. They both got hurt. So Ghana doesn't even know who their starting goalkeeper is going to be. And that's really bad news against Portugal. And it's really bad news against Uruguay, who has Darwin Nunez leading the line, who has Suarez still playing. Uruguay is a team with scoring depth. And if you haven't seen Darwin Nunez play for Liverpool or previous to that, he's good at 2 things. He's great at scoring goals, and he's really good at getting cards. So if you can find some kind of combo bet on him to score a goal and get a card, like a Gordie Howe special, but in soccer, I would take it because the dude's pretty fiery. But my God, is he good at scoring goals. Now, on the South Korea side, they have Son from Tottenham, who's so good. And he's the best player on the team. The problem is he has an injury as well. Now, he had an ocular injury. Now, he's been playing with a face mask. They're trying to get him to play. I just don't know if he can play all 3 games, all 90 minutes. I know it's not his legs that are hurt, but the visibility is going to be an issue. The breathing is going to be an issue with where he got hurt. And if he doesn't play, they're going to get stomped. It's that simple. Now, they've had some pretty interesting, famous results. They beat Germany the last time they played them in the World Cup. They're an interesting team. But without him 100%, they would need a lot of luck here. They can get past Ghana. I'm convinced they can win a game. But it's going to be really tough sledding against Portugal and Uruguay. So this should be no surprise that the key game of the group is, in fact, Portugal and Uruguay. And I'm just going to skip ahead to the bets because this part speaks for itself. I'm going to plant my flag with Uruguay here to win the group, and Portugal to come in second. I realize that Portugal is going to be a very, very sexy pick, and I get it. Uruguay to win the group plus 185, and the plus 265 for them to beat Portugal. They're correlated for sure. But Even taking Uruguay not to lose, that plus 0.5 at minus 135, I love. And their team total for the tournament over 5.5. Again, I mentioned how good Darwin Nunez is. Suarez is going to get his. This may be Suarez's last World Cup. I would imagine it is. Between the two of them, they could hit the over 5.5 on their own. And they're kind of glory hogs in a sense too. Like their team could be up 2-0 and they could be sitting back with 10 minutes left. They're going to press and try to get personal glory, which if you're betting the team total over, good to know. So my bigger concern here is Portugal. So if you don't know what's going on with Cristiano Ronaldo, he's very unhappy at Manchester United. He wants off the squad. And I'm not going to get into the whole reasons and the ways he's carrying on lately. You can go look that up on the internet. I don't want this to be a slam piece on him because I can't dispute his talent, obviously. The issue here, though, is he's playing with Bruno Fernandes, and they play horribly together at United. Bruno Fernandes is the type of player that kind of needs to be the alpha. He's on the guy. He's in the midfield. He's the point guard of the team. All the offense should go through him. He also was the penalty taker at United before Ronaldo came, and Ronaldo is always going to take penalties wherever he goes. There's something off with that team. They don't gel. And Jota not being there, Jota's kind of the bridge between them. So I could see them being really disjointed. Another important thing, I know this is like a little news thing and it came out, but Bruno Fernandes is pissed. I mean, I don't care what they say. He's pissed about all the things Ronaldo said about the club. A lot of the senior players at United do not seem pleased with this. And they had a very, very tense meeting when they got together to report for World Cup duty. I don't know how often. I mean, they only have to gel for a few games, and I get that. And maybe it's overblown. But there's something about this team that I don't like. And honestly, they're another team that's kind of getting older. So Uruguay, yeah, they're a little bit older squad too, but at plus 265 for them to win one game against Portugal, I'm going to plant my flag and take the shot with them here to get it done. So thank you for hanging in there. I've tried to make these videos as concise and quick as possible. Nobody really needs a 4-hour video here. So these are the picks that I've gotten. So when we get to the next video, which will be recorded tomorrow, which is Thursday, November 17th, I will go over the final 16, the 2 from each group, who's playing who, how the tournament at that point, the single elimination will play out, who our finals are. And on top of that, I will throw out my favorite bets for the golden ball, which is the tournament MVP, the golden boot, which is the guy who scores the most goals. Obviously, for those, you're going to want somebody that's going to make the final 4 of this thing. There is a consolation game for those that you guys don't know, that once right before the championship game of the World Cup, the teams that were eliminated in the semis do play. And those stats count toward the golden ball. They count toward the goal scorer. So it's important. Like making the final 4 is important. It buys you 2 extra games no matter what the result is. So we will cover all of that on the next video. It will be a little longer than these 2 videos. It'll probably be about 40 minutes, probably 45 minutes. There are no betting lines yet for individual games, but you can bet what stage teams go out, who makes what, like marker in the tournament. And we're going to cover all that tomorrow. So if you made it this far, I really do appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please do that and enjoy the tournament. And I will see you guys very, very soon.